By the way, there's two things I can't handle is this. I understand, like, this is actually a weird angle we can go into a second. Like, obviously a weird angle. In fact, let's just do the Misfits one for now. The weird angle on Misfits is this. The only way the Zanzara move has actually worked out is just that it's made everyone waste these last 3 weeks, like trying to go like 7 rabbit holes deep of like, but what should I ban and then make? What should I want Zanzara to play into me? And then if he did, what could he? And then, but isn't he a Skarner main? But isn't he? And then still letting him just get all the same champions he's won in his entire career, like 33% of the time or something. You go, oh yeah. And then every fan, like, it's a Zanzara gap meta. Like, meanwhile, it isn't. But the one thing it is doing is people have to waste shit bans that sometimes he never even would pick that champion. So the joke is, you're already against a team where you want to waste all your bans on mid and ADC and then just ban Yuumi. And now people are just wasting no, actually take out the Yuumi ban and just ban something that Zanzara doesn't even play. Like, okay, so it's like, what's bizarre is it's almost like he's like fucking distracting people like some sort of laser pointer, so they're not actually following the basic plan to beat Misfits. Because what I don't get is this, Dom. Last split, when we said Misfits couldn't win a best of 5, that was because they were the 3rd seed, and if you looked at it, they were never going to play the worst teams. They were only going to play the top teams, and also that was when it was like Vetho had to hard carry everything. Dude, the strategy for this one, they're again the same team. Like, they cannot. Who can they beat in a best of 5 here? How can they win a best of 5? If anyone beats them in loses to them in a best of 5, surely it has to be some sort of like crazy draft fuck up. Like, it feels like if teams are real, like, let's go to you first on this, on Jensen then. I feel like essentially if teams are very cynical drafting against Misfits, they can almost like halve or like make their chances 1/3 of what they should be, you know. This is the team where it's the opposite. You don't just give them what they want. Like, if you give them what they want, they actually have a chance in these games.
I mean, I haven't go. I mean, I might even double down on Yamato Cannon's approach, you know? It's like, this team is, and theoretically, if you play League of Legends against them, they shouldn't be winning games. I think that's how bad Misfits is in terms of, like, everything I know about the game, Misfits isn't doing correctly, right? The Rift Herald setup is clueless. The opponent bot lane's moving first, they're starting the Rift Herald. Their players are resetting on the map for absolutely no reason when they're first on it, so they just give up map control. Their integrity numbers isn't there. And in terms of like how they approach fights and everything, it's like they just have to hope that Viteo carries it. If you do it correctly, he should be able to shut them out of it. If you're bad at doing that, then approach the draw phase of it, and then take away the Yuumi, take away the Silas and stuff like that, to make sure that there's no chance in hell that they're able to take these fights from these terrible positions that they put themselves in.
How fucked up is it that no one even ever says the name of the Misfits support? Everyone just says Yuumi. We act like he isn't. We act like the champion just spawns. Right? Yeah, that's the joke though. Like, the joke is, technically what he has played has won them a whole bunch of games this split, but there's not a single person has him as a top support. No one ever says his name. Like, it's why, you know, Yuumi the champion is just so busted, but especially on this team, because the joke is it just goes on to like 2 super carries, Neon or fucking Vethio. It just makes them more powered.
Yeah, I think that they're actually just like, look, we hyped them up last week. That was because they actually overachieved. Now that they've overachieved, they're going back down. Like, they're just gonna lose 2 best of 5s again. It just is what it is. The problem is they need like 2 champions, and there's 3 fucking bans. You need Orin and you need Yuumi on this team to make it work. Well, people have now realized, they're like, okay, instead of trying to ban out Zanzara, like, even on Zanzara's best picks, he's not even that good. Like, if he plays Trundle, it's not like, oh shit, it's like this Trundle. You'd rather have like any of the good junglers in the league play Trundle. I'd rather see a Yanko's Trundle. I'd rather see Marcoon's Trundle.
By the way, when he played that Vi game, fuck it, I feel like I need to quarantine for a week after watching that. Like, what the fuck was that? That was offensive, mate. Like, I mean, imagine watching that Vi game and then going and watching like the inspired Vi game and being like, it's just the same champion. Like, what are you doing?
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a little bit, right? So there's 2 ways people can conceptualize how this Misfits team wins games, right? One is they draft a very cynical skilling style, and the second is that they win through mid jungle 2v2. And taking away the Trundle and Zanzara's champions which actually pair well with Viteo's Zoe and stuff like that, is one way to kind of attack them and draft as well. So it's not to say that these people are stealing paychecks when they just decide to ban Zanzara's pool, because there's one way you can conceptualize it. And then if you can say that, okay, they can't control mid jungle, then we should have agency in the game. We should, in theory, be able to close out against them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just, you look
Big talk, I'll be back in 1 second. I've got to quickly do something.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at his picks, and I think that teams have had the wrong approach the entire time. And you have 3 bans. If I was playing against Misfits, I would think about these 3 champions. I would think about Silas. I don't need to ban it, but I would consider it. Like, I better have a good fucking strategy. or I would leave up Ornn in a case where Trundle is up. Let's say I'm red side, or let's say I'm red side. Like, if you can leave up Ornn and then you could get a Trundle on your team, I think that's also playable because they tend to pick Poppy super early. So for me, I don't see what makes Misfits dangerous in a best of 5. Like, Neon, I think, is good. He's solid, but I don't think Mersa's reliable enough where you're going to be able to get consistent advantages. It just seems like it should be the easiest team in the world to prep for. They should be so easy to prep for the opposing coach. Ban Ornn. You can just, like Thorin said, the most cynical draft possible. Ornn, Yuumi, Sylas. Boom. 1, 2, 3 ban it. You guys can have all the fucking other OPs you want. Oh, you want a Zeri? Good luck. Good luck playing a fucking Zeri. You can have a Sivir, you can have whatever. Oh, you want Trundle? Sure, take it. Play Wukong, we'll play Skarner, Vi, whatever the fuck you need into it. Oh, you want Poppy? We'll play the Trundle. Literally just let them have like whatever jungler. Zanzar's not going to carry the game. Just make sure that they can't AFK and win the game because they can't do anything else besides for AFKing and win the game.
By the way, even though, like, obviously it's what every pleb said for years, like, delete the champion, ban Jerry, Yuumi, like, this is the team, I'm not joking, I would ban Yuumi every game against them, no matter what they're going to pick, because here's the why. Like I said, it's not like because of what Mercer's going to do, it's because you're just giving Vethio a chance to get, like, 1.5 times stronger, it's just fucking mega super carry in the game. Like, the joke is this, mate, like, we should just be grateful fucking Yuumi didn't exist in, like, the proper heyday of, like, Faker and fucking Loki, and, like, it would have been unbelievable back then. Imagine what they would have done. The joke is you could just recruit anyone as support for SKT. Couldn't you just make Faker better? Like I've never seen one champion affect one team as much, because specifically in this team, Vethio already was having to carry a whole bunch of these games, so it just makes him even better. That's the problem as well. I'll add that in as well. The other factor people aren't going to think about here, Jensen, is this. You saw it in the spring split. The one problem Vethio has is he himself lacks experience. He's a young guy and he's inexperienced. So just like in spring, he had like a one game that was all right, and then he had a couple that were a bit like, he never really got going, or like, he had his pick, but it didn't look that great. I also am waiting for him to show me he's a playoff player, so I can't just take that for granted, like all the BO1s he's done so far. Like, spoiler, I even think he's a legit MVP candidate this split again. Like, I think if you look at the games they won, how they won, I think you have to put him in the conversation. But the problem is, playoffs is a different beast, and I'm still waiting to kind of see that guy arrive in playoffs. So the problem is that they're already playing the team I think a lot of people on paper thinks number one anyway, G2. And then also, think about this angle, Jensen. The most boring but accurate way you win in the LEC is through jungle mid. And then we just look on the other side of the ring, as it were. Oh, just the greatest ones of all time, individually and together, and they're both amazing again. Like, mate, what do you want? Like, that's the other thing. If we want to talk about Misfits winning the best of 5, it has to be something in the lower bracket, guys. They're not winning this best of 5. Come on. This one, they're tailor-made to get wrecked on. I feel like Dylan Falco will get the draft right. Caps and Jankos will get their champions. Jankos will just fucking destroy Zanzara in the best of 5. Come on. And then I just don't think that, like, there's no way you can even get to the win conditions, I think. I'm not even hating when I say that. Also, isn't G2 probably the best mid-game team now?
Yeah.
So how do you even get to those late games fucking super powerful carries? You can't, right?
Aren't they the only mid-game team? What
They
other
probably
team? What other team has like an almost like just basic level functioning mid-game outside of
no
G2
one does,
right
because the joke is, I actually even think that's what fucked Mad Lions in the end. It's like they had to be so far ahead once they got to that point that they sort of like couldn't throw, like the opponent wasn't strong enough to catch it. Like, I agree, by the end, mate, that's why, as sad as it is, those basic factors, which is a lot of people would say is why G2 won the spring split, they're just coming into play again. All of a sudden, all you need is Jankos and Caps to be amazing, and you can do a fucking lot. You can do a lot in this league.
Yeah, and they play. I think they play enough of the OP champions now, G2, because I think one of the issues was they were like behind the meta, but now that BB kind of has a reasonable Gwen. Before, I thought his Gwen was like pretty bad at MSI compared to like, well, even if
he didn't want to play it.
Well, yeah, I mean, he didn't want to, like, it was into Zeus and Bin. There's no Zeus and Bin right now in LEC. So his Gwen is good for LEC standards. And then you have like Draven that Flocken could play. So they could play like strong meta picks. So now they're one of the teams that's actually hard to play in because you can't even do the strategy. I mean, G2 could actually give Ornn away for a game and just play Gwen into it if Gwen's up. They actually have that option to potentially play into the enemy team, which, before they didn't really have that. They would play like GP or something and just lose the game. So I just feel like...
I'll give you another reason you could even do it, Dom. You can also give away a fucking Ornn if you're going to have Cap Silas just use the fucking ult anytime you want. Like, the joke is it might even be beneficial sometimes. That could even be good.
Yeah, it's tough.
You're just a better version, aren't you? You're just now super powered Silas and you have an Ornn ult. Like, that's pretty nice. It's not bad. So do you think you're taking G2 to win this, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is G2's tournament to lose, basically. I think that there's some ways where I think Caps and Yankos, they're playing a little bit too disrespectfully. But then we'll see when they play at Worlds, right? Like if that's an LEC specific thing where they know that these teams have no idea what they're doing on the map, so they can be in these very advanced positions and stuff. Or is this something that they will actually get exploited for when they play against the likes of a V5 or RNG?
When you say it's their turn to lose, obviously you're specifically meaning, like, basically if they do their job, no one can stop them. So what makes them? Why do you think no one can handle them in this set of playoffs?
So it goes back to what I was saying, right? Like I think that this is a team that is the right meta read. They're the right players for the right meta in terms of being able to execute a proactive game plan. In terms of how they execute a proactive game plan as well, I think they check a lot of the right boxes in terms of it. I think there's some stylistic differences in terms of how they do it, as compared to some of the top LPL teams where they have two on the side lane, which is what the G2 identity has always been, right? Caps and Yankos, or Yankos and Perks, or Yankos and Caps, where they have this two-man unit being able to enforce the side lane. But unlike the farming teams, they're doing it to protect the waves, which is a very key element that's different. Where they're advancing the side waves in, and you see them, the opponents always spin on both side lanes when they play against G2. It always comes to the point, and then that's where G2 will really start to take their leads. And sorry, I got lost a little bit in my train of thought. What was the original question? Like, what makes G2
why is
right?
G2 unstoppable? Why is no one else going to stop them?
So if I look at it, they check all the factors, right? Meta's right for them. These guys are definitely clutch. We've seen them time after time. Mid game they play well. I don't think they have problems in terms of coordinating the early game in terms of moving mid jungle support around the map. Like they are the best mid jungle in the West right now.
Obviously, don't let anyone who works for LOL Esports hear you saying that, but you know. Because otherwise then he'll suddenly have to scramble and name as many Chinese people as he can within 5 seconds. So straight fire reference, if you know what I'm talking about. Right, Tom, you obviously have G2 win this series. I mean, you basically said Misfits can't beat anyone, right?
3-0. Yep. I think it's just a hard 3-0. I think Misfits maybe wins one game the entire tournament. They maybe
you also share the sentiment that G2 is essentially like the favorite for the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Mad Lions maybe can band-aid some of their issues, but I think G2 just has they're starting to come across the meta that they're going to use to win the tournament, right? Like, and I think that's the difference between them and other teams, where it's like it doesn't look like any other team has it figured out, where when you look at G2, they're like, okay, we know what we want to play. We'll play Draven. We can play either tank stop. They're playing some Sejuani. They're playing some Gwen. Like, they have things in their arsenal. They still can play Yone if they have good matchups. So they have like good read on the meta. Like they have a good read and also like a good capability to play the strong meta champions. But then they also have the situational counter picks that they have in their arsenal. They're willing to pull out to exploit enemy teams that go too far in one direction on the draft. So I just think overall they just have everything that you want right now. I mean, Flocky can play Sivir, he can also play Draven. Good. Like, I'm happy with everything that I see. I think that they're favorites again. It just so happens we just have to see if there happens to be a team that can, get it together, or if Mad Lions could get back on their early game kick, because it felt like Mad Lions this week. I mean, they didn't look good. They looked lucky to beat Astralis and BTS, to be honest. So,
want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.